Honorable Director Sharon Quester, Fort Meade, Nataraja Rastri reporting from Collins Resorts, Capital City Reptilia, Planet Dragos. Encrypted uplink is live. My GPS, pardon me, Galactic Positioning Beacon, GPB, is active for live tracking. As you know, I was recruited by CIA Director Arlen Conway as a field asset for the Galaxy Alliance Security Conference here. Operationally, for this window, I'm reporting into your counterintelligence compartment. Yes, the backdrop is Collins Resorts. That hum you're hearing is the resort's climate baffles riding the evening thermals off the canyon. And yes, Director, the wardrobe is cover. I'm blending with resort guests. Jeans, no shirt. Apologies for the informality. It's a CIA thing today. It's an honor to serve CIA and NSA, and I hope to brief you in person at Fort Meade. Empress Maya Rastri sends greetings and goodwill. If anyone down here says I look just like the Emperor of Dragos, I laugh and tell them everyone says that. It's a supreme compliment. When they add, but the Emperor would never dress like this, I say, exactly, and keep moving. If the sky feels crowded, it is. Collins Dragon Sanctuaries, headquarters Galaxy City, runs one of the largest sanctuary networks on the planet, and we're in the heart of mating season. You're seeing rare and endangered red, blue, turquoise, and yellow dragons flocking overhead, drafting on the lift that rolls in from the river basin. The sound is like thunder made of silk. I still love flying them bareback when duty allows. Dragos' lower gravity makes it a different world than Earth. When you visit Collins, we'll arrange a supervised Alliance legal flight for you. The handlers are strict, the insurance stricter, and I will personally vouch for your saddle. On tasking, for Conference SP, I completed protective technical coverage on Director Conway's suite and travel bubble. That means TSCM and hardening no fishing expeditions. Recordings are sealed to the presidential file unless your compartment flags a threat. I do not opine on Arlen's motives. I log behaviors, not intent. His briefings today were crisp, time-boxed, nothing gratuitous. He's using the resort for proximity and the conference for deniability, which is either elegant or expected. We'll know soon enough. My primary surveillance now is Ayra Veylan, assistant to Queen Loraya Shah. She is precise and disciplined, with the cadence of someone moving through a cutout rather than improvising. Her calendar says hospitality. Her feet say logistics. Twice she adjusted her route at the last meter to land on a camera's blind edge, which means she studied the floor plans or learned them by feel. She also walks the way people do when they're listening to an earpiece that isn't there, heartbeat steady, breath shallow on corners. I have her gait on file. If we ever need to ID her at distance, I can pull it from crowd footage. Where she goes is more interesting than how. Ayra's route taps the deep transit below Reptilia, the same underground corridors tied to the gravitational anomalies you've seen in earlier briefs. Imagine elevator banks that don't stop at -2 and call it a day. Imagine miles beneath the Collins footprint, where secured platforms nest office stacks and warehousing like honeycomb. The walls sing if you know what you're listening for. Freight moves without trucks. Personnel move without corridors. She treats it as a back channel, not a novelty. I'm mapping access points as I tail. Stairs to nowhere that are stairs to somewhere. Maintenance closets with air colder than the hallway. Kiosks whose screens always seem to be rebooting when she passes. Deep transit keeps its own clock, and Ayra is punctual to it, not to ours. You will hear chatter about the spa. Resort chatter says Ayra called me a thirst trap and wagered she could pull me off mission. That's color, not content. Director Conway advised a rapport-build play. For the record, my loyalty is to Empress Maya and to the mission. I set rules of engagement with you in mind. Cultivate access without crossing the line. If the operation breaks bad, capture precedence with containment. If she's a node, we turn her. If she's a blade, we neutralize the threat under Alliance law. No theatrics, results, and custody. Young staffers hear stories about honey traps like their campfire songs. The real tradecraft is boring until the moment it's not. I will keep it boring as long as I can. A word on the conference layer, because it's where the currents cross. The Galaxy Alliance delegations use Collins because it feels safe. Luxury is a system of soft barriers. But soft barriers lull people into soft habits. I've asked the resort to rotate service staff across floors out of order so anyone tracking housekeeping patterns loses their signal. I also requested that hover carts carry ballast when empty. Ayra's world trains you to watch how the floor reacts, not just who is on it. If a cart with no mass makes the grating hum like a heavy load, the people who rely on feel will misread the map. We want them disoriented without knowing they are. Now, Earth stakes. For President Abigail Tubman's state visit to Dragos, the Galaxy Alliance protective plan is green, personally approved by Madam Pentillion. We're running neural authorization keys on weapons, biometric locks, real-time telemetry, and zero-trust credential revocation. If any badge goes off script, access dies, comms quarantine, and we lift them out. No explosives, no myths, just layered security the reptilians can't spoof. The point is not to trust the good people more, it is to give the bad people nothing to borrow. If the system sees behavior that contradicts the green list, the system turns red on contact. And if someone tries to counterfeit a heartbeat or a heat signature, the second factor waits inside the bone, not outside the skin. Since you'll ask, no, I will not be on the rope line. I will be under it, which is where deep transit wants me. The anomalies you flagged aren't random, they're patterned like chords. The bulkheads below certain Collins towers ring with a frequency we do not hear in the older sections. Newer concrete sings. Old stone listens. If someone wanted to move a person from a balcony to a boardroom without crossing a camera, they could. I have no proof they did. I only have a map of places where proof would be hard to keep. That is where I am listening. Status on Ayra, she has 3 tells and none of them are the obvious ones. First, she pauses at doors whose handles have been polished by anxious hands. People new to a place paw at the metal. People with authority barely touch it. Ayra waits for the door to remember her. Second, she never lets her shadow cross a threshold before her shoulder does, which means she is trained for people who shoot at shadows. Third, when she smiles at staff, she smiles at the cadence of their language, not the content of their speech, matching a culture without speaking it. That's a cutout tell. She is either protecting someone higher or protecting something beneath her that she doesn't want to contaminate. Both are interesting. I do not romanticize this work, but I will admit I love it. I grew up on Earth spy movies. Now I stream them on the New Physics Corporation Dark Mirror communicator between runs. The communicator caches the film in a place that isn't quite a server and isn't quite a theater. It arrives like a memory you get to have for the first time. Half the time I pause not for suspense, but for framing, how they make a city feel legible or dangerous with a single shot. Reptilia is legible if you know the layers. It is dangerous if you forget them. If you need a read on Arlen, I will give you a boring one. He schedules meetings at odd numbers past the hour and ends them at even numbers before the next, which is the habit of a person who thinks better moving between rooms than sitting in them. He asked me to watch his watchers and to tell him if any of them stop blinking when a dragon shadow passes across the glass. That's a good request. He did not ask me to approve his friends. Also a good sign. He knows how to use a resort without letting a resort use him. Again, I log behaviors, not intent. The intent will declare itself when it needs to. Back to the sanctuaries for a moment, because optics matter. Collins Dragon Sanctuaries is not a vanity project. It is a promise embedded in stone. The sanctuaries teach our youth that power can be gentle and that gentleness can be strong. The dragons do not know what planet they are on. They only know what kind of welcome they receive. When the Alliance meets under their flight paths, we remind ourselves who we answer to. You cannot bully a creature that can outclimb a storm. You can only partner with it. That is the world we are trying to build. As for my cover, it is holding. The resort crowd likes a story, and I give them one that changes every few hours. This morning I was a visiting equestrian instructor evaluating saddle ergonomics for lower gravity spines. At lunch, I was a safety auditor counting lifeguards by the number of times they glance at the deep end when no one is in it. Tonight I am a man who looks like a man who would never dress like this. The trick is not to lie convincingly. The trick is to be boring after the third question. Spies who crave applause do not live to read the reviews. Director, I want to put a small flag in something you might miss in the noise. A vendor on the promenade sells Jeep B charms, tiny replicas of the Alliance beacon. They're trinkets. Children love them. But the stands moved in a pattern that matches Ayra's corridor days. I do not believe in coincidences when they repeat in rhythm. If the charms mask an RFID handoff or teach a crowd where to gather and when to disperse, we should care. I am buying one every time the booth appears. If the total weight of the stall changes when the crowd peaks, I will know. You asked for a plain language account of the gravitational anomalies. Here it is. Some floors here feel heavier than others, but not because the building is clumsy. It's because something below is humming in tune, and the tune changes the way your bones think about down. On those floors, people who walk with confidence start to check their feet. On those floors, glass settles in frames that look level to the eye. Deep transit shares a wall with whatever sings. I can't prove the link yet, but the song and the corridor rise and fall together. Rules of engagement remain as we set them. Cultivate access, preserve deniability, maintain custody options that leave everyone alive and the truth intact. If Ayra offers me a corridor tour, I will accept it on camera and in plain sight as a cultural exchange with a prominent assistant, not as a private errand in the dark. If she invites a private errand in the dark, we go to lights. The goal is not a trophy. The goal is a chain of custody a court can love. On comms, Jeep these days live unless you instruct a dark window. If you call for the window, I will assume you have a parallel track and you want me off the board for a beat. If my beacon winks without your order, assume I am underground in a place where signals take the long way home. The communicator will buffer and dump on contact. If both go quiet, send a team to the elevator bank no one uses because it moves too slowly. The slow ones go far. The Empress asked me to add this, and I agreed. She says to tell you that Dragos was not built by people who think in straight lines. Our history bends. Our streets do too. If you ever feel lost here, step into a sanctuary and look up. The sky will teach you where you are. I find that helpful even when I'm working. Push any updates you need acted within the hour. If you want me to shift from Ayra to her shadow, give me a name or give me a doorway and I'll do the rest. If you want a pressure test on Arlen's perimeter, I will schedule a harmless breach and see who arrives angry versus who arrives curious. Curiosity is easier to work with. It is an honor to serve NSA, CIA, and the Galaxy Alliance. And yes, I love this work. I love that it asks for quiet. I love that it rewards patience. I love that the moment you think you've seen everything, a turquoise dragon threads a line of thermals over the Collins Towers and redraws your map for you in the sky. GPB stays live. Rastri out.